Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Canine Chronicle TV and Dog Show Tips. Today, George is going to talk about some problem dogs, which we all run into. So get your notepads ready.
Coach's Corner with Will Alexander and George Alston. Brought to you by ProPlan and Canine Chronicle.
Hey, George, seems like just yesterday we saw you.
Yeah, well, we got to get these things in the can. I didn't even change my shirt.
Exactly, me either. Me
I
either.
didn't sweat at all. Um, Today we're going to do a problem dog. This is a question that came in, uh, and there's a lady from Missouri with a 10-month-old English cocker, and she says the dog gets when she gets finished grooming him at a show, he gets so excited she can barely hold on to him. And then he gets down on the ground and she has him on a Resco lead and he throws his head up and over on the Resco lead and drags her around the ring. And she says,
Yes.
what to do? Well, what she need to do is you have to, first of all, take care of the problem. The problem that she probably had, and I talked to her on the phone, is he had a tonsil problem. And
Oh, you actually spoke to her on the phone?
yeah, I called her on
Oh,
the
nice.
phone.
Now that's service.
Well, my wife bred the dog, so I had to fix it, or I'd have to be in deep deep at home.
Yep.
Okay, so I said, okay, this is something that I don't think gets talked to about. Professional handlers get the problem dogs to show. If they're easy to show and they're show for everybody, most of the time on class dogs, the owners can go in the ring and show it themselves.
Yeah.
Handlers get the problem dogs. I found that 95% of the problem dogs that came in, were affected by three things. Number one, bad tonsils. Number two, anal gland problems.
Oh, yeah, I remember calling you about that one time when I had a
And,
dog that kept backing up, and you said, "Check his anal glands."
and number three, kidneys. Because most people don't let their dogs drink enough water
Yeah.
and they end up with kidney problems. Or they give them too much protein and burns their kidneys out. So those are things that you have to worry about. The So I told her to take him on a loose lead. She said, well, she tried a loose lead, but he goes and he drags her around all over the place and she has no control. Well, very good friend of mine helped me with a dog. I had a dog, Silence Private Stock, who was a crazy, crazy English Springer Spaniel. And I'd try to show him, and he would drag me around the ring. The handler's name is Bob Stebbins, probably the greatest mechanic showing a dog that ever walked. Only problem he did is he showed every dog exactly the same way. His golden retrievers looked like Dobermans. His Kumas are showed like Dobermans. He felt that everything should be shown like a Doberman. He was still a great handler. He was, and a great friend. And So he told me, he says, take your dog for a walk. So what you do, and I had my assistant, Dave White, would walk private stock around my property. I have 6 acres, and he'd walk around 5 or 6 times all the way around the property and walk him on a loose lead and just take him for a walk. If the dog get out in front of him, he would do an about turn, an obedience about turn. Not say anything. You don't say heel. You just do an obedience about turn. Then you walk, he gets out in front of you, you do an obedience about turn. You do a few of those, and he will start to watch your left front leg. Now, you don't talk to him because you don't want him to stick his head up in the air staring at you. You don't wave a bunch of bait or food in front of him. You just take him for a walk. All of a sudden, private stock started winning a lot of best in shows. And he won the Quaker Oats Award, and he uh, was number 1 or number 2 sporting dog that year. It's amazing how something very, very simple such as that. Now, when you are when you are uh, gaiting your dog, whether it's a loose lead or a tight lead, and also too, when you are stacking your dog, especially sporting dogs, where you are not using the lead, you're using sporting dogs and hounds, you're using your hands to control the head. You never, ever, ever use constant pressure. It's always on, off, on, off. And you think about people who ride, and I learned this from riding horses, that if you use steady pressure on the reins on a horse, he'll grab that bit and take off on you. A good horseman is always on, off, both with the reins and with the legs on the body of the horse. That way, the horse is waiting for direction, and he hasn't got time to get you in trouble. Works the same thing with a dog. If you're constantly twitching the lead with your little finger, or when you have your hands, one of the greatest a breed, Gordon Setters. They are the greatest waltzers that ever lived. They
Waltzers?
waltzers or dancers. Their front feet are always
Oh, yeah.
dancing. Gordon Setter. There is no other breed in the world that is that bad. The dog I showed after Najjanka Rekaplenty, he could have won that Dancing with the Stars. He could have won that sucker in a heartbeat. The secret there is when I was holding his head, I would use my fingers to move his head an eighth of an inch this way and then back the other way, just constantly moving his head. Just a very little bit. Nobody could see that I was moving the dog's head. He could feel me changing the pressure from one side to the other. He's waiting for something for me to tell him to do something. He doesn't have time to waltz or dance or get me into trouble.
Right.
When I
When
was
you feel that muscle movement, you like, you go from left to right, you keep them on their feet the whole time.
Yes, and it works, and
Yeah.
people don't understand. But and the same thing when you're gating the dogs, Marquis. If I kept the same pressure, now I showed him on a tight lead with a chain
I
in
remember.
self-defense. I mean, this Marquis, the Irish setter, was a hell of a lot stronger than any Great Dane I ever showed. And if I kept the same pressure on that lead, he'd think about it, and then he'd put me through a baby gate or through a steward's table or or something. He was always doing something to try to destroy me in the ring. But if I kept on, off, on, off, on, off the whole time, he wouldn't think about trying to do something to destroy me. I mean, one time in the Best in Show ring, he pushed me over. I drop kicked the Best in Show sign right past the judge's ear because he had me run into it out in
Yeah.
Santa Barbara. He runs me into the stanchion where you set up for your picture and everything. It was in the middle. He ran me right into that sucker. And and then he'd stand there when I'd be laying on the ground and he'd stand there and laugh at me. But you got to do that constant on, off, on, off, on, off. I, that's, and then also when you need to calm your dog down before he goes in the ring, you just try to figure out. Maybe you groom him and then put him back in the crate and let him calm down. You have to find out where the button is. You may have to take him for a walk and walk him around before you go in the ring. When I was showing Rebecca, the Irish setter bitch, I would have have the owner hold her, and I would play hide and seek with her. And so that it would, because she was half asleep most of the time. So I had to wake her up. And the way I got her to wake up was to play hide and seek. One of the reasons there is that she lived at home and the owner spoiled the hell out of her. Um, so there's some dogs that you have to take them right off the table, right into the ring. And don't let them think about it because otherwise they'll quit on you. Uh,
Right.
so this is something you have to experiment. If the main thing is the first sign of senility is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different response. Or that's a sign of insanity.
Insanity, yeah.
And is doing the same thing over and over, expecting things to be different. And it doesn't happen. If it doesn't work coming right off the table into the ring, try putting him back in the crate and take him out of the crate and go in there. Or take him out and let him walk around and get bored. Um, you have to use your imagination.
Oh, there's all kinds of different ways. I used to have people walk certain dogs to ringside. I would have them I would have the assistant walk the dog around for like 10, 15 minutes, then walk them to me, and then we'd go in the ring. Like different
Absolutely.
things,
Absolutely. Most of the time, I would have my assistant hold the dog ringside under very strict conditions, not let them do anything. And then I would come up at the last minute, take the lead, and go in the ring and play with them and have fun.
Right.
And the dog said, "Hey, this is where we're going to have fun." And I was talking to a handler that I've known for 40 years, and we were discussing showing and whatever. And I said, "Did you ever see a dog of mine that wasn't happy in a ring?" And she said, "No, I never did see it in 40 years." I said, "What most people do is they play with their dog outside the ring, and then they go in the ring and say, 'Stand there,'
Yeah.
beat up on them, and the dog says, 'Hey, man, I don't like this crap. I don't
I'd
want.'"
rather be out there.
Yep. That's all for today's
All
Face
right, that was a
Media.
good one, George. All
Yep.
right, well,
And don't forget, dogs are folks.
dogs are folks. You'll never let us forget that. So
I
that's
will
important
never
one.
let you forget that. That was the whole basis of my what one of the things that I live by.
Yeah.
Dogs are dogs.
All right, George. Until next time. Thanks, George, as usual. If you like what you're seeing, make sure you press the like, share, and subscribe button, and we'll see you down the road. Follow us on Canine Chronicle TV.
And this year, with her strong athletic build, her fluid gait, and her confidence in the ring, the Beagle by the name of Miss P became the 9th.
The best in show is the Beagle.
Congrats, Miss P, on winning the 139th Westminster Best in Show.